It's always nice to see you here in the Mask Fan Attic. Thanks for stopping by once again here at the Attic Above Horror Hotel, where we keep things a consistently uncomfortable temperature and consistently covered with dust and cobwebs, because I know that's how you like it. Anyway, your interesting old mask today in the Mask Fan Attic is this one from, what's it from? Don't get ahead of me here. It's from Day of the Dead, and this character is none other than Bub, one of the coolest zombie characters, I think, of all time, because a lot of zombies are just, and don't have any personality at all. Bub was actually an interesting zombie. Bub was a zombie with personality, and, well, that sort of made him stand out from the pack of walkers. You know what I mean? Sure you do. Now, the 1985 Day of the Dead was, of course, the second sequel to George Romero's Night of the Living Dead from 1968. In 1978 there was Dawn of the Dead, and then in 1985 there was Day of the Dead. And there have been a couple of other movies called Day of the Dead and variations on that, but this is the one that you should care about, is the one by George Romero in 1985. Why should you care about it? It's the one that had Bub in it. Now, Bub was played in the movie by an actor named Howard Sherman, sometimes credited as Sherman Howard. Been in tons of things. You've seen him probably in other parts. A lot of other sci-fi and horror related projects too, including Howard Sherman, aka Sherman Howard. And that's nice, isn't it, when you have a first and a last name that both sound like they could be last names, so you could be credited either way. That doesn't work very well for me. Lady David would not be appropriate anywhere but in the phone book. But anyway, one of the places you may have seen him, apart from an episode of Tales from the Dark Side back in the 80s, you may remember him as Lex Luthor in the late 80s, early 90s, I believe, Superboy TV series. I think Superboy ran something like 89 to 92, somewhere in there. Anyway, Lex Luthor, Superman's famous enemy, was played by Howard Sherman in, I think, 17 episodes. A lot of episodes, in any case. Pretty impressive credentials, I think, for anybody. Now, Bub has been brought to mask life many times over the years. Various artists have done Bub masks, and there have even been a number of licensed, official, studio-approved Bub masks by Bump in the Night Effects and Trick or Treat Studios. This particular one that you see before you came first and was done in the mid-90s by Jeff Wehinkle, fantastically talented sculptor who has a long history of terrific monsters and masks and tiki mugs and all kinds of coolness under his belt, and used to be a employee and then co-owner of Gag Studios, the place that came out with all those rigid foam props before everybody else was making rigid foam props. Gag was the first to do that. And Gag, by the way, I believe stood for Gags and Gifts. G-A-G, I think that was sort of a pun, you see. But anyway, Jeff's Bub was limited to only 13 copies. I don't believe that was intentional. I think that's because the mold sort of crumbled after the 13th one was made. So there are 12 others like this out there floating around in the known universe, in addition to the one you see before you, scowling and squinting at you right now on your viewing monitor. This particular Bub can be distinguished from other Bubs, okay, by one unique peculiarity, and that is, if you've seen the movie Day of the Dead, you may remember at one point when they're trying to see if Bub has any memory of when he was human, they put a razor in front of him to see if he knows what it is, and he picks it up and he scratches his face with it, indicating that he does have some vague memory of what a razor is and what you do with it. You drag it along the lower part of your face. But being a zombie, he's a little uncoordinated and cuts himself and puts two little scratches on his face with the razor. Now, the only reference stills that were available to Jeff at the time he sculpted this had been, unbeknownst to Jeff, printed flopped, printed in reverse, printed backwards, you see. Which doesn't matter to Bub, because he figures you spell Bub the same way forwards or backwards, right? Yeah, it's like radar. It's one of those palindromes, isn't it? Yeah. But because of that, Jeff put the two little bloody scratches on the wrong side of Bub's face. They should be on this cheek, but he put them on that cheek because he was working from reference photos that were printed backwards, and that's how you can distinguish this bub. Now, after the 13 copies of this one were made, Jeff actually sculpted a second edition of bub that's a little bigger and is also wonderful, is also super cool, just like this one, but is a little different. This one I was my favorite. I preferred this one of the two, but the other one's awesome too. A lot of cool bubs. Bub's such a cool zombie. You can't go wrong with old buddy Bub, right? Now, this has been a long time ago, so again, mid-90s. So if you're looking for this exact one, good luck. You may find one of those, one of the 13 available. This particular one, I painted it, and Laura, my long-suffering wife, did his hair. We didn't do all of them. I think I probably painted, and Laura did the hair on maybe 3 out of the 13. I believe maybe only 2 or 3 we did back in the day, and I think Jeff did all the others himself. And likewise, the second edition that was a little bigger, I only ever painted maybe 1, maybe two of those, I think. But very cool character, old scary Bub the zombie. And you may also notice Jeff's version has the collar sculpted on, like he wore in the movie. Not all Bub masks have that, but this one does. So that's about all I have to say about old Bub and the phenomenally talented Jeff Wehinkle who brought him to mask life back in the 90s. So meet me up here again next week at this same Bub time, same Bub channel, and I'll try to find something even more horrifying for you.